Perhaps that is something that's happening in their manufacturing plant, wherever that is, and it is something that I think that Victoria's Secret certainly could be on the hook for.
Yeah,
could be on the hook
exactly. Mark, they do the testing, they find it. How does Victoria's Secret explain that away?
Well, first of all, it breaks my heart because I've been a big fan of Victoria's Secret's work for years. What they've done to the push-up bra is nothing short of miraculous. But I do think that they have some challenges here for sure, Mike. If they were placed on notice, as Sonny said. But here's the question. When were they placed on notice? If a batch of these women got together and said, look, we've got itching and we've got rashes, and they said, well, we're going to look into it, we didn't know anything about it, then they're going to, you know, they can't be held responsible for what happened. If, however, they were placed on notice at some point in the past, and then all of these women continued to get harmed by it, then for sure I think they're going to be held responsible.
How long did you have those lines loaded, Iglarsh? You were ready, weren't you? You were practicing those. Those were good, though. I'll give you that. All right, let's get some calls in. Andre in Michigan. Andre, your thoughts?
Formaldehyde is a preservative, especially in delicate clothing. I guess my question is, was there any instructions to wash the clothing before use?
All right, good question there. Sonny, how does that factor in? Because and that's a great point. To pick up there, I know that formaldehyde is used, I believe, in shipping. It's got to go a long way, and a natural fiber could get wet. It prevents mildew. But go ahead.
You know, I think it's actually a very good point, but the bottom line is they are saying that they do not use formaldehyde. So they have already denied the existence of formaldehyde. And so I think even with a warning, such as the one that the caller called in about, I don't really think that that is going to help necessarily. They have already indicated we don't use it.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, maybe it was a shipping company. Maybe like in the truck that goes out, there was some, I don't know, jars of frogs and some, I don't know. Remember what formaldehyde was used for?
Get a hold of yourself.
In other words, in all seriousness, Victoria's Secrets will say we produced a quality, non-defective product. It went out, and then at some point, unrelated to our negligence, there was formaldehyde in there.
Gotcha. Frogs. Anyway, Kathleen in Illinois. Kathleen, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, is this anything like the beauty contest where one claimed it was itching? It's just another way for people to sue, to be happy. You know, jump on the bandwagon. I ain't got no money, so I'll make it off of you.
There it is. Mark, you agree with that? You think this is part of a sue-happy society?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, they were sued earlier this year because a crystal came off one of their panties, lodged off, and hurt someone's cornea, allegedly. You know, I don't know. Make sure the panties fit before you put them on. But yeah, I think that that's part of the mentality, and I'd like to see what these women have in terms of evidence. You know,
you're on fire with this one, Sonny. I think, Sonny, from what I'm gathering from you, you think that this is more legit, and we possibly could have a case here. Is that right?
You know, I do, but I can't stop laughing over here. He is coming out with a lot of good ones. But yes, I do think that there is a case, and yes, Victoria's Secrets, of course, has been sued for thong malfunctioning and all that sort of thing. But when you look at this case, we're talking about formaldehyde. There are doctors that have been visited because of it. Some women are saying that they've had welts, they've had rashes, they've had permanent scarring, and more than one, not one, two, but I've heard many women are complaining of this and visiting their doctors, and so I don't think it's something that we can just sort of say, you know, this is just a litigious society and people like to sue because we're in an economic crisis. I think there's a little more here.
Who should pay for I mean, you're talking, you know, when you get into rashes and I believe permanent scarring is what we had as well. Does that get into the lawsuit area there as far as who's going to pay for damages?
Those are different issues. Rashing, which goes away, and permanent scarring are two different things. I think the damages are going to be an issue. I think you may get a lot of people jumping on board saying, you know, I had some itchiness.
Gotcha.
Well, so what? What are the damages there?
Okay, and let me say it was alleged physical scarring there. All right, spirited discussion. Mark Iglarsh, Sonny Hassan, thanks again. You can watch Sonny on CNN's American Morning. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.